We have taken a post-Vanderbilt shower. I'm still a little fuzzy from Nashville. Are you?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, are you all right? You sound sick.
I don't sound awesome.
It sounds like Billy Ray after Pittsburgh 2019. He claims he was patient zero of COVID-19. He had the same voice all week.
That was really rough. Was a little happier following that game, to be completely fair. For those of you not watching on YouTube, we are together. We are in Charlotte, in my apartment. And vibes, doing better. I think Florida State stepping in and raising their hand and said, Hokies, hold my beer. I would like to be nationally talked about in a negative manner. So shout out Bill O.B. for going down to Tallahassee and taking care of business, getting us off the hot seat. Cheers to that. If you are watching on YouTube, please shoot us a like and a subscribe. It does help. And it's free to watch. So, why not? What do you got? You're pointing at something. Oh, should we go into Hokie haikus?
Pete McGee, we did meet him on Broadway. We had met him before, but we got our first Pete McGee pick on Broadway on Friday night, submitting some haikus. He also did call into the 2 deep line and just record a very long poem. It was awesome. Pete says, "Heard thunders to Berg, Huff will puff to blow Tech down. Lane is made of stone." And then John Cran, "Vandy stole our pride. Hokies hearts heavy with loss. VT now must rise."
Very well done. 2 great poems. I saw we did have one submitted by Higher Loyalty. Really good. We always have to make cuts. Higher Loyalty, I know you said you were not on the Hokie haiku train at first. But we do have to make cuts.
Was that Higher Loyalty or was that someone else? I think
believe
it was Make Common Sense.
It was Make Common Sense, but I think his @ is Higher Loyalty.
No.
Irregardless, it's a tough slate. A lot of people that want to write in, and we appreciate everybody. And we pick a couple. We'd be reading haikus here all day. Before we get started, just on the topic of current events, a couple of old guys here. The word demure. So that's something that's taken over the interwebs right now. If you know what this means, put it in the replies. From what I understand, it's like the new version of swag. I wake up in the morning, there's morning dew outside, and the sun's peeking through. That's demure. If I were to use it in a sentence. Do you have any idea of what it means?
I cannot support any use of this new phrase. I'm not with it.
Okay,
let's move on.
Moving on. Hokie history. Before I pass it to you for your Hokie history, we did lose to Marshall last year. I'm getting really tired of losing to teams like Marshall. No disrespect to Marshall or Old Dominion or any of those other, non-Power 4 adjacent teams. I just want it to stop. And Saturday, we have a chance to make it stop. Last year, 24-17 after giving up 17 points in the second quarter. Rasheen Ali, thank God, plays for the Ravens now. You might want to draft him on your fantasy team if he plays anyway like he played against the Hokies. He had 27 carries for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is not really Hokie history, but it kind of is. Cole Pennington, Chad Pennington's son. He's on the team. He actually took snaps last week. I don't know if you're feeling old. I sure am. Chad Pennington's poster was in my brother's room growing up in a Jets uniform.
Where did you watch the game last year?
I watched the game with the Atlanta Hokie Club in Atlanta with David Wilson, Allie Elkins, and all of them. And this was actually the morning after my truck got broken into for the second time. It was awful. That's my old truck. I actually hadn't thought about that until right now. So yeah, thank you for bringing that back up.
That game last year was so bad. I also remember how Marshall put out this drone video.
It was epic.
And everyone the whole next week was getting mad because Virginia Tech wasn't putting out drone videos. And
yeah,
you know how the fan base gets when we lose, how like
everything
is horrible when the football team doesn't perform the way that we expect them to. We blame everything and everyone on everything and everyone.
Well said.
But We're turning the page. It is a new year, but I will do a little bit of recycling. Sons of Recycle. We have a lot of history with our friends over in Huntington, West Virginia. Not too far up the road. Not too much distance separates Blacksburg and Huntington, but all the tidbits between Virginia Tech and this football program at Marshall.
Can I step in and just say something that surely people will have a problem with? I just have to say, when you rank states that are beautiful, I know West Virginia has some issues. I know that they're a little weird. And I know that two schools we don't like are located in West Virginia. But when you think of the triumvirate that is North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia, it's some of the best views that the East Coast has to offer. So I just want to put that out there.
Really, really nice point that you just made.
Thank you.
I think anyone who has driven through West Virginia is really just fired up to be there.
Yes.
It's wild. It's wonderful. Can't speak on the infrastructure on, some of their cities, but I can speak on the beauty of their landscape.
Yes.
So we'll kick it off with Brent Pry's dad, who did play quarterback at Marshall. You guys know that there was the tragedy in 1970, the plane crash where everyone on board died in the fatal accident for the Marshall football team. See the movie We Are Marshall. Matthew McConaughey stars in the movie. Well, Coach's dad, Jim Pry, was a junior reserve QB that year after. So he was around the program at that time. Frank Loria, number 10, retired at Virginia Tech. He's from Clarksburg, West Virginia. You guys may know Frank Loria as a legendary free safety who played in the late 1960s with Coach Beamer. Frank Loria was Virginia Tech's first consensus All-American and also was the first player in school history to be named All-American in 2 straight years. And when we think about Frank Loria, people always talk about his high character. His son, Frank Jr., when asked, he was told that Frank Beamer was asked if Frank Loria were still alive today, did Frank Beamer think Frank Loria would be working for him? And Coach Beamer said he thought he would be working for my dad. So that's a testament to Frank Loria. I know that was 2 Franks and 2 coaches. I was about to say, a little bit of complicated.
It was a beautiful statement and story that was delivered subpar. But the Hokie research was there.
Yeah, the Hokie research was there. This was a copy paste from last year's notes. I mean, it is
can't blame you.
Same game. But
hopefully not.
Tip my cap to Frank Loria's character. He would be coaching. He would be Frank Beamer's boss. Mm-hmm. How's that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Before the game in Huntington in 2011, Virginia Tech brought a Hokie stone that they had inscribed to honor both Frank Loria and Rick Tolley, who is the Marshall head coach in 1970 and also a Virginia Tech graduate. Frank Loria Jr. did the coin flip at that game up in Huntington in 2011, and Coach Beamer references that game as one of the most emotional games he's ever had in coaching. He's had quite a few. The first game after the Virginia Tech tragedy in 2007 against East Carolina was certainly probably the most emotional game I've ever been to in Lane Stadium, other than Frank Beamer's last game. And then Coach Beamer also coached Virginia Tech at Rutgers the first game after 9/11 in 2001. A couple more connections. Xavion Turner-Bradshaw, who we hope to see this weekend on the field in action, moving around. His dad, Ahmad Bradshaw, played for Marshall.
Super Bowl New York football giant, Super Bowl champion, Ahmad Bradshaw.
Legend. And then Randy Moss, you mentioned Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, who broke his leg and said, hey, carry me up the field and let me keep going.
What is that?
Grit.
Yep.
No CJ McCray hit the portal from Marshall. Grant Wells was a Marshall, transferred to Virginia Tech. CJ Revis transferred from Tech to Marshall. Tavante Beckett transferred from Tech to Marshall. He's now in the UFL. And then also J.C. Price. Mm-hmm. J.C. Price, before landing at Virginia Tech, was coaching defensive line at Marshall. Our first game at Marshall versus Marshall was in 1914. I looked at their site. It says 1913. Doesn't really matter. What does matter is that we've been playing them for a very long time, over 100 years of tradition between Virginia Tech and Marshall. A little bit of a border rivalry here. And I know we lead the series 10-4. Mm-hmm. I saw we lead the series 11-4 on another site. So it sounds like that 1913 game is in question. Did that 1913 game happen, and did Virginia Tech win it? I'm not sure. We're going to have to call Clark Ruland, the real Hokie historian, about this controversy here. Notable games, not too many notable games between Tech and Marshall, other than 2013, the overtime rain game. Were you watching on TV? You were not at Virginia Tech yet.
I was not. I don't even think I watched that game.
No, we wore the digital camouflage helmets this game. Mm-hmm. Logan Thomas was the quarterback. Logan got tipped, and Willie Byrne made a heroic catch for a touchdown late in the game. I believe it was Ethan Kaiserling kicked the game winner. Might have fact-checked myself on that one. And then 2003, Marshall was ranked, and Virginia Tech defeated Marshall. I'm pretty sure that was a Byron Leftwich-led team.
They just had that on College Football Classics. I got to dig that one up. And then, of course, 2018, the makeup game for the bowl trip.
Yes, the bowl eligibility bowl, where Marshall came up and filled our Hurricane Florence canceled slot with East Carolina. Mm-hmm. Never to play East Carolina again. Instead, it was the Thundering Herd coming to town after championship weekend, and we had a great day that day. Ryan Willis had a great day.
He did
that day, and then Virginia Tech went on to play in the Military Bowl. Objectively speaking,
Thundering Herd, awesome name, fantastic name.
Good logo too.
Good logo, good colors. So that's your you can share that scout with your 3 or 4 year old.
And it is the Dan Bowl.
It is.
Dan from Terror Dome. Shout out to Dan. This is the Dan Bowl. We know this game is very important to you as well.
Yes. Has he pledged allegiance? Is he kind of just like, is he going half jersey? What's he going to do?
I think he's going Hokies.
Okay. I hope so.
What are the storylines? What do we got?
Yeah, so we got a couple of things. Number one, unfortunately, Jalen Stroman is hurt. So Jalen Jones and Mose Phillips are going to be your starting safeties according to the depth chart. My question, will we see any Mansour Delane playing safety? According to Kobe Stud Muffin Johnny on the spot Crawford, he was spending some time with safeties in practice. By the way, shout out to Kobe. He does a great job. Works really hard.
Can you call him Kobe?
Colby.
Colby? There's an L. You literally typed the L.
I didn't know if it was silent. Shout out Colby Crawford. And then also a little moving around of the linebackers. We do have Jaden Keller back to Mike linebacker. Not really storylines, more so adjustments on the depth chart. Look, here's the storyline for me. You got to win this game. We were talking about it. I don't know if it was us that was talking about it or Sam and Pete, but it's a must win in the fact that we're talking about this a little bit later. You have to win the game, but how do you look when you win the game? You kind of lose the ability when you stumble out of the gate like we did to just check the box of winning the game. I'm really looking for, do we have a plan offensively? Do we have confidence offensively? And do we show up defensively? Really, that's it. So I'm not hoping just to win this game. I'm hoping to restill some confidence into this 2024 Virginia Tech Hokies football team. So
here's a storyline.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech in bounce back games after losses. I think it was Robert Irby who shared this. The last 4 games, Virginia Tech, after a loss, Virginia Tech has won by a margin of 24.5 points.
That's awesome.
Now, we opened up as 14-point favorites over Marshall. That line has climbed to 20.5. And it climbed from 14 to 20.5 legitimately
in like an hour.
In like 4 or 5 hours.
Yep. I was looking at some of the sites, and it looks like 70% of the money is on Virginia Tech. So interesting. Thought that was interesting. Open at 14, climb up to 20.
it's a, hey, can we keep this trend going game?
Yeah.
You know, are we going to learn a lot about our football team against Marshall at home in week 2? Probably not. Do we want to see us improve in a few different areas compared to last week? Absolutely. The measuring stick here, I would say, is, would you say it's covering the spread? Would you say it's just seeing improvement in a few key areas? What would you say is kind of the barometer for success this week?
I just want to look, and this can get blown out of context, but I just want to look competent. Like, I want to look like we're going out there and we know what we want to do and we do it well. If that reflects in a score that is, 21-0, or that reflects in a score that's 45-27, like, I don't know what that can look like. I think it's more of a, what does the product on the football field look like, versus we better win by X amount of points. I want to win by a lot of points, but I also just want to look competent here. Hokies have played well at home under Coach Pry last year, and against Boston College 2 years ago.
Don't forget the Wofford game.
And the Wofford game. Yeah, that is true. Just come out, look competent, and do what we know we can do. We have a talented football team. We have better players than Marshall does. We have better players than Vanderbilt does. But can we go out there? Can we execute the game plan? And can we win?
When I think about competence, if you do want to measure that, I can say a lot of it has to do with scoring early. If you think about last year, the games that we had success in at home, it was Syracuse,
Pittsburgh.
It was Pittsburgh, Wake Forest. We scored early. NC State, we came out flat and we lost the football game.
Yep.
We didn't score until the second half. So I think that if you do want to put a measuring stick on it, I think scoring early and making a statement in the first quarter, not just the first half, but I feel like if this team can go up 7 points in the first quarter and then have like a 2 or 3 possession lead at halftime, that's what we all want to see. I don't want us snoozing through the first half and then turning it on late and still, having a backdoor cover late in the game. I think a lot of Tech fans would be pretty disappointed if it's going to take 4 full quarters to beat this Marshall team, or at least convincingly beat this Marshall team, but we don't have that much data to work off of right now. Marshall, they played Stony Brook last week. Had you ever heard of Stony Brook University? And if you did you know that they had a football program?
I did not. They defeated Stony Brook 45-3 in week 1. Marshall, the football team, Charles Huff is a good coach. I know that it's going to be a good X's and O's test for this coaching staff. They came in and based upon the conversations I had, Marshall felt fantastic going into the game against us. And outclassed us and beat us in Huntington, a place that we should never play, but did. We're making a similar trip to Norfolk in a couple of weeks. But again, handle business, play your game, and this is an opponent that Virginia Tech should beat, which I feel like if you're talking about any other program, you just say, and it's kind of like, hey, we should beat this team. But with Virginia Tech for the past decade,
you have to go and do it.
You have to go do it. So, anything else about Marshall, the team?
Yeah, I mean, Stony Brook, I believe, is a small school in Pennsylvania. Marshall played 3 different quarterbacks on Saturday and had 3 of those quarterbacks all throw for a touchdown pass. So the first 2 guys that they had out there, Stone Earl and Braylon Braxton. What a name, Braylon Braxton. Stone Earl threw for 2 touchdowns and was yanked in the third quarter. Braylon Braxton played most of the second half and threw for 2 more. And then you had Cole Pennington come in at the very end. The 3 of them together passed for 290 yards on 21 of 32 passing. I don't know what to make of that. They played a JV team and they beat them by 42 points. But they do have some guys on their team who put up some good numbers and probably some folks that we should watch out for.
549 yards of total offense. Little background on the 3 quarterbacks. So the starter was Stone Earl, 6 foot, 211. He's a senior, transfer from North Texas. Braylon Braxton, he's a junior, 6'1", 221 from Tulsa. And then Cole Pennington, he's a sophomore, 6'3", 209. Talking about their wide receivers. So we're playing a bit of geographical hopscotch on their top wide receivers. We had an MTSU transfer, Elijah Metcalf. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 on a punt return. We also had Michigan State and Louisville transfer, Christian Fitzpatrick. He had a touchdown. And then Carl Chester from Tulsa and Braylon Brown from Ole Miss both scored as well.
So you got Braylon Braxton and Braylon Brown on the same offense.
And Carl Chester. A lot of double.
Carl Chester, but it's the hard C, and then you say the CH is
Kacha. Kacha.
And then you also have a Christian Fitzpatrick.
That's true. Look, when you're early on in the season, we can look at, one game of evidence, and in the transfer portal, especially with these group of 5 schools, it's really tough to kind of pin down, this guy is their impact player. This guy is who's going to do this. But, the defense, well, first of all, going back to the offense, they have a new offensive coordinator this year who replaced Clint Trickett, former West Virginia quarterback. And right now they're rocking with Purdue tight end Seth Doege. I had to double look at that because I didn't know if that was Doege from West Virginia.
Wait, you just call him what is he? Purdue tight end?
Yeah, he was a former Purdue tight ends coach and a former player for Mike Leach at Texas Tech. So, being a Mike Leach disciple, this will be an air raid offense. Expect to see a lot of high flying. I did look at the run pass breakdown. It was like 45-55, 40-60. I do think a piece of that has to come down to by how much they won the football game. So I do expect to see Marshall throw the ball around the yard a good bit.
So with this air raid offense, but they only threw 32 passes. Mm-hmm. But do you attribute that to just being up?
Being up, trying to get off the field. Again, it's hard to really understand what somebody wants to do with a first-year coordinator, and you've only seen them super small sample size. So they're a little bit of a mystery. We're going to have to see what's going to happen. As far as their defense, they do run a 4-2-5 with 2 stand-up defensive ends. So this means that you will only see 2 people with their hand in the dirt if they do the same thing they did last week. They have 2 absolute mountain men in the middle. Every single interior defensive lineman is over 3 bills. Their 2 starters listed this week are over 320 pounds. Key player, J.J. Roberts, who is a Wake transfer. And I do want to shout out Doug Bowman for doing some awesome homework over at 24/7 on the defensive side of the ball. He always does an awesome job. Please check out his work. But going to be an interesting front for us to see. I'm curious if with 2 stand-up defensive ends, sometimes you'll see a defense do that radar defense thing where they're moving everybody around and trying to confuse this offensive line. I gave this offensive credit some praise that I hope they live up to moving forward. Was not a good showing against Vanderbilt. So this is going to be a challenge. It's going to be some big boys that are up there on this Marshall defensive line. So they're going to have a handful. But unless you have something on the defense, we can switch it over to keys to the game.
Let's jump in.
Key to the game is you got to win. Like, you have to win this football game. This is not really a negotiable. This is not like, hope we go out there and we play hard and, you have to win the game.
It's a must win.
The dialogue on the internet was rough. It was a rough timeline. I remember I left the game at Vanderbilt. I know we said we wouldn't go back, and I took a shower. I'll rinse up again after. All I did, put out a tweet, said, put your thoughts in the replies. They were not very nice. People were upset. People will be really upset if the Hokies don't handle business and handle it resoundingly. So how can we do that? Offense, play like you did in the second half last week. And defense, don't play like you played for most of the game last week. I say this all to say there are talented enough players on this team, and we have seen the coaches do a good job schematically against other teams. I am hoping to handle business this week, close the door on Vanderbilt, and move forward. Here's the reality. Tech fans are not going to have an opportunity to feel truly better about their team until Rutgers comes to town at the end of this month. That's just reality. Virginia Tech fans are like, you know what, we play Marshall, you know what, we play Old Dominion. There's probably a segment of Virginia Tech fans, you're probably not listening to this podcast, but there's probably a segment of Virginia Tech fans that aren't even going to tune back into this team until the Miami game or until the Rutgers game. So we will see how this pans out. Any other thoughts?
When we are talking about the defense on Saturday, I know with these adjustments, Kelly Lawson and Sam Brumfield at will, Jaden Keller being moved back to Mike. Where does Caleb Woodson get incorporated here? But also, like, what is the strategy with this as far as containing this offense? What's going to be different as far as making these defensive adjustments?
Yeah, I think you have to pin your ears back to a certain extent. I do like Kelly Lawson not rocking at middle linebacker. I do wish that we knew where we wanted our linebackers to line up after going through an entire camp, and we're reshifting it here in week 2. But coverage is going to have to be on a much better plane than it was last week. Diego Pavia was vertically challenged in terms of throwing the football down the field. He also didn't get any help from a lot of his wide receivers who had multiple drops. We are going to see some quarterbacks who know going into the season they're going to be asked to throw the ball between all of them, depending on who plays, probably upwards of 30, 35 times. So, I'm hoping to see our defensive line get to the quarterback. I'm hoping to see our defensive backs be able to handle, coverage down the field. That's what I'm looking to see. Some of the things that we heard about all year going into the season, we have we have defensive ends who can get after the quarterback. We have defensive tackles. We bolstered that position. We're expecting that to take a step up. We have 2 lockdown corners who are NFL prospects who we believe can guard anybody. I want to see that against Marshall. We didn't see it against Vanderbilt. Again, everybody on the staff and the team would tell you that we didn't play up to our potential. I'm hoping that we see us play up to our potential on Saturday.
What else do we need to do?
We need to be loud.
We need to give the ball to Bashal Tuten.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this on the post Vanderbilt podcast, but we need to have him run the ball at least a dozen times on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's early in the game, and that's killing clock late in the game, and that's in between. If we are getting him the ball, anything other than handing him the ball out of the backfield, let's make sure that we're putting him in a position to be in space and to make defenders miss and to be truly effective in the passing game. I think we could really see something incredible this week. And when I'm talking about that, I am talking about the Chris Riegard, Bashal Tuten, Benny's challenge. Chris Riegard has pledged to eat 1 slice of Benny's pizza per Bashal Tuten touchdown scored inside the walls of Lane Stadium this fall. So we could begin that count as early as this week. We're looking forward to the content. We're looking forward to the touchdowns. Excited about that. 1 slice per touchdown.
I'm also hoping to see us protect the quarterback. I think Kyron, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. He's not going to be able to be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC if he's having to look over his shoulder the entire time, having to tuck it and run, be afraid of the pocket breaking down. I'm hoping that we protect Kyron and give him an opportunity to do what we saw in the second half, get the ball down the field, get to his second or third read, and be able to move the offense meticulously down the field. And I think confidence is a huge, huge thing for everybody. Ollie Jennings, like you said, every time he suits up, he scored a touchdown. Get some more reps with him in a game, get Daquan Felton some looks. Gosnell brothers Gosnell, I know what they bring to the table. So I just want to see it. I want to see the team that we have heard about all summer, all spring, all winter. I want to see that team take the field on Saturday because I have no idea what it was last Saturday. I don't.
Yeah. I think coaches, guys, let's not have any coaching decisions negatively impact Virginia Tech's chances on winning the football game. that's playing disciplined football, that's having our guys ready to play, that's no stupid penalties like the 0 thing, which will probably be talked about for years.
Yeah.
Which is just so awful. And I wish I could just take a memory loss pill so I don't have to think about the 0-0 thing. But we just need to go out there and take this team seriously and actually bully them up and down the field. And it starts up front too. It starts up front. It starts early. And I'm really hoping that it's been a good week of practice so far. Benny's lines. Did you have a last thought?
No, I'm really proud of the excitement we're instilling into this game. I want to see it. I'll be so excited to see it. We can go out there and just kick some ass. It's a day trip for me from Charlotte. Just go kick some ass, head back.
Watch the night games.
Heads on the pillowcase by 10 o'clock with a Virginia Tech win. Feeling pretty good. We get back on this podcast, chipper, smiles, happy. That's all I want. That's all I want.
I want to win pod.
Benny's lines. So first of all, anybody with a game day pin gets $1 off of their slice.
Billy Ray, how do I get a game day pin?
You head down to Counts Family Pharmacy in Blacksburg. We had a new ad read today. Main Street Pharmacy is now Counts Family Pharmacy. It is the same location. It is the same great people. It is a new name. Same
CFP.
Name. CFP.
Counts Family Pharmacy. CFP.
So head on down, get your pin. If you have your pin on your person, you will get $1 off a slice. We're really excited about this partnership. It's new. You guys love the pins. There's even a Benny's logo on the pin now. You know, a bunch of people are going to say corporate sellouts. Well, guess what? The New York Yankees sold a little patch area because they were, we're supporting New York Presbyterian, and we're also
supporting the local
pizza. So head on down to Benny's with your pin and get you something. So Grant Watson over under Tootin rushing carry 16.5. This is a good line. This is a really good line. 16.5 is tough.
I'm going to take the under on 16.5 because I think Malachi Thomas will get some burn. I don't know what to expect on Saturday. I just think 17 carries would be a lot for Tootin against a team that were favored to win by 3 touchdowns.
Here's what I need. I'm going to go over, and here's why. Kyron Drones doesn't need to be taking what? What do you have last week? 16 carries? I think he had 16 carries of our 30.
It was definitely double. I think it was 16.
Kyron Drones doesn't need to be doing that. He doubly doesn't need to be doing that against Marshall. He doubly doesn't need to be doing that running up the middle against these two, massive human beings that we have. I don't need getting fallen on. Don't need any of that. So I'm hoping to see Tootin carry it a ton. I still don't understand our running back rotation. I know Malachi got banged up in the game. He came back in. We didn't see a ton of XTB. So I'm going to go over. I think this is a great line. I would like to see Tootin touch the ball 18, 20 times because I don't want to see Drones carry the ball as much. Drones passing yards over 259.5. Look, Kyron Drones got like 300 yards and a half of football last week. With that said, I have a really hard time saying that Tootin's going to carry the ball more than 16.5 times. I think Kyron Drones' line for passing finishes around the 225, 250 range. So I'm going to go under.
Okay. Next one.
Well, what stake your claim, bro?
I already said under.
Oh, okay. Double under on the Drones passing yards?
On the Drones passing yards.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just zoned out.
You did.
Drones passing yards. I'm going to say under as well. I think we're going to run the ball good on Saturday. Have a nice balanced attack.
It might be balmy on Saturday, by the way. Bring your quarter zip. I'm seeing temperatures as low as like 62 degrees. So
it's football weather, though.
VT defense points allowed, 14.5. I'd really like to see under double digits and at worst like 13, 14. So, but also defense couldn't stop a nosebleed last week. Marshall's going to air the ball out. They're going to
run the ball too.
I'm going to have to go with over here. I'll give my score prediction here, but I'm going to have to go over. And I also would probably take the over on the game at 52 points, but I'm going to go over 14.5. I got to see better defense first. We're a weekend, guys. but I'm going to go over.
I also have the over here. And my score prediction, we are 20.5-point favorites as of Wednesday night. I have Virginia Tech winning this game 31-17. So we're going to push on the original line of 14. We will not cover the 20.5, but I do see Virginia Tech bouncing back, getting the win. That's actually hitting the under. The under of over-under is 52. That would put us at the under.
I can just tell you, if that's the score, you're not going to be happy. And a lot of people aren't going to be happy.
I'm not going to be happy.
I'm just put that out there. I'm going to go 42-17. That's going to be my score. I think that's a little bit more stomachable because we do this stupid thing in our head where, oh, did we score in the 4s? Did we score in the 3s? What's the total gap here? Which is why I'm more concerned about how the football game looks. But when you vocalize that if it's 32-17, I'm going to be a little bummed. Because here's what's going to happen. My pops may watch the game. I'm not sure if he has the CW in his package. But if the score is 32-17, he's going 31-17, he's going to call me and he's going to say, I pulled up Bleacher Report. You guys barely beat Marshall.
I think it's going to be like the ODU game last year. Where ODU was never really in the game.
But they did some annoying stuff. Quarterback had a bunch of yards. Yeah.
That's kind of – and I think the final of that one was like 36-17. So it was like a 19-point differential. This is one possession less that we'd be scoring on. I do think Marshall's a better football team than that ODU team from last year. But yeah, I think like this could be like a late garbage time touchdown from Marshall that gets them up to 17. But I don't think this is really going to be a game that we're sweating that much, but I would love to be proven wrong. And I hope we beat them by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Again, lines from the game, Virginia Tech 20.5-point favorites. I think you can get that at 19.5 on DraftKings on FanDuel. And then the over-under is set at 52. Letters to the lunch pail. Pete McGee, working a double shift on this podcast. Not to take winning for granted, but assuming Tech wins, what will you need to see to feel satisfied after a Vandy letdown? For example, I don't think I'll be happy regarding season outlook if Tech wins by less than 3 scores and starters play the whole game. Again, I don't think Virginia Tech fans are going to feel good about anything. Not anything, but they're not going to feel great until we take the field against Rutgers and hopefully beat Rutgers. Like, if you beat Marshall, people are going to be like, okay, you beat Marshall. If we beat Old Dominion, people are going to be like, okay, you beat Old Dominion. When Rutgers comes to town and Greg Schiano comes to town, I'm not looking ahead. I'm just simply giving you how I feel like most of the fan base feels. The team has to focus on each game as it comes around. I don't think Virginia Tech fans will, in droves, come back and be like, okay, I feel like Vanderbilt was a little bit of a slip up until we play Rutgers, a Power 5 team in Lane Stadium against a good coach and a good running back and handle business. And then you're turning your page into Miami. I don't think if Virginia Tech won this game, I'm not kidding. I don't think if Virginia Tech won this game 100-0, that Virginia Tech fans would just forget last week. I don't think that's realistic.
When we win a football game, we walk out of Lane Stadium and we make a video. I know that I'm not going to be ear to ear grinning in any form if we win this football game by 5 points or 50 points.
Yeah.
I think most Tech fans would agree with that, hopefully. I know Pete's question was, what will you need to see to feel satisfied after that Vanderbilt letdown? And I think that's all we really could strive to get to, is satisfied. Hey, I want to be satisfied. I'm not going to be happy, but I think ultimately it's seeing Virginia Tech football play Virginia Tech football. And that is running the football well early, scoring early, and then playing some smothering defense where there is a big play on defense or a big play on special teams. We're actually having them turn the ball over. Turnovers are contagious. There's nothing more contagious in football on defense than turning them over. And nothing can give you more momentum than that. And we forced 0 last week, even though we couldn't land on a fumble. I think if we are able to capitalize on any sort of mistakes that Marshall is making, and playing good defense, I will feel satisfied. So
well said.
Yeah.
Want to take us home?
Yeah. So should be fun. getting back there. This is the first game in Lane Stadium with the new sections.
I love the kickoff time.
It's a good kickoff time.
Love the kickoff
4:30.
time.
You get in whenever you want. I think we're getting in around noon. We're going to watch Texas and Michigan play at the Tailgater downtown. Should be another good weekend of games.
Yeah.
But Section 5 is no more. It's only a figment of our imagination, and we will keep the legacy going, and we will continue to ride that wave. We are entering the Section 129 era. Excited to see my new seats. I think I moved up like one row. Billy kind of got screwed around in the reseating. He's like 2 rows behind me. But we do have a lot of fun folks together down there. Got the seating chart ready. It's going to be a great time. And I want to plug the Section 5 Club. We're not going to talk about it in depth yet, probably until after our first win podcast.
If you're on the newsletter, check your mail.
Yeah, we put it in the newsletter probably a week ago. I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone. Hey, if we win the football game, come down to Section 129. We'll take a fun win picture. We'll put it on the newsletter. We'll put it on the website. And that's all we can ask for. But looking forward to seeing everyone in town this weekend. Safe travels to everyone making it to Blacksburg.
And I just want to reiterate, we're in this thing together. We're excited. We're going to show up. Like I said on the podcast last week, I'm going to show up. I'm going to support the team. I hope they play better. I hope you do the same. That's it. Go Hokies. Beat Marshall. Handle business.
Oh!